The Games are upon us, and while the world prepares to enjoy the challenges that await the world's best athletes, another elite group already has their work cut out. The high security in Rio's Olympic Park has been beefed up once again. Extra soldiers are patrolling, and Brazil's National Public Security Force are carrying out extensive searches of cars entering the media compound.
Inside the Olympic Park, Brazil's SWAT team, the BOP, is infiltrating the gymnasium for a reconnaissance mission. The aim of this drill is to neutralize a hostage taker. Important training sessions for these elite troops that are more accustomed to fighting organized crime than counter-terrorist acts. Brazil has never had a terrorist attack on its soil, but it's been prepping for that risk for months. There's a special aerial reconnaissance team and more than 80,000 police officers and soldiers deployed on the ground. Last week, however, the police arrested 12 people suspected of planning terrorist attacks during the Olympic Games after intercepting messages on Telegram. Brazilian forces have been working with French SWAT teams to simulate attack scenarios. Today, the French raid is at Rio's International Airport. This time, they're on a scouting mission ahead of the arrival of heads of state, including the French president, on August 5th. To help police in their work, security agents will be monitoring the entire city, thanks to some 3,000 CCTV cameras.
Citizens of Rio responded to the Olympic torch as it snaked its way through the city en route to the opening ceremony with little acts of disobedience. They dropped their trousers, hurled projectiles, and burned the Brazil flag, in protest as what has come to be called the Exclusion Games. This afternoon, a few hundred of the most disgusted marched near the Maracanã Stadium. When officers moved in to arrest one man, scuffles broke out between protesters and the military police. Members of the crowd responded by hurling bottles. One picked up a heavy wooden table and lunged at an officer in full riot gear.
Begins with hundreds of dead fish washing up on the shores of Lake Thurmond. Early this morning, state agents launching an investigation to find out what caused that fish kill.
A very smelly discovery at Clarks Hill Lake today, and the summer heat could be to blame. Savannah River keeper Tanya Bonatadaba is sharing these pictures of dead fish found today. She says she and the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers launched an investigation, and they believe low oxygen levels and high water temperatures are most likely to blame. She says close to 1,000 blue-black herring washed up on shore. Bonatadaba says the Corps will increase its oxygen levels to try and prevent even more fish deaths.
In Brevard County, unfortunately, we have to report more dead fish have been spotted in the Banana River.
Daryl Nail got the tip late this afternoon. Daryl, what can you tell us about what's happening this time?
Well, it looks just from my own eyes like a pretty substantial fish kill and the beginnings of it. But I want to give you a look at what we're dealing with here. We're in the Banana River, a portion of the Indian River Lagoon, and we're going to look off into the area that's the Thousand Islands. Those white dots that you see on the water, those are fish. Majority of them are juvenile fish, but they run the entire area that we can see all around. As my photographer pans up along the shore of the Thousand Islands, this is all you see are these little white dots. These are the ones that I just plucked out of the water. These are not exceptionally large fish. They're juvenile fish.
As we turned here and made the right and went south, we started seeing little specks here and there, and then all of a sudden we thought were bubbles, and then it turned out to just be thousands and thousands of fish. And as you can see, it's just, when I started the video, towards the end of it, I was just devastated. I really had no words for what I witnessed here.
Wonders how to cope with the Zika virus. The West Nile virus returns to Kern County with 2 new human cases announced just this morning.
The Zika virus has caused worldwide concern, but not too long ago, the West Nile virus raised major health concerns. Today, renewed concern with 2 confirmed human cases of West Nile in Kern County, one in South Bakersfield. the other in southwest Bakersfield. And now the Department of Public Health is preaching caution.
Dusk and dawn. You really need to be aware that at dusk and dawn, this is when this mosquito is going to be most active and likely to bite you.
A big announcement today from the FDA, the approval of GMO mosquito testing to fight Zika. This comes just a day after the head of the CDC visited South Florida. But will this help in the fight? Our chief investigator, Michelle Gillen, has more on this controversial issue.
With South Florida ground zero in an outbreak of Zika, just hours after the government brain trust behind the battle left town, the Food and Drug Administration announcing today its approval of a field test of genetically modified mosquitoes to help combat the virus. The engineered mosquitoes would be, perhaps already have been, created by Oxitect, a company out of England. They reportedly have already set up a manufacturing site in the Keys. Key Haven is scheduled to be the release area of the pilot project if all local and state approvals are cleared. The FDA has released an environmental assessment that concludes that using the mosquitoes would not have significant impacts on the environment.
They want to release these mosquitoes.
Trish Sheldon, a leader in the fight against genetically modified mosquitoes, told me she anticipated this might be the next step.
There are mosquito eaters, there are dragonflies, there are fish and bats that eat mosquitoes. This is a really great solution. We can release dragonflies, which is harmless to our communities, better than a genetically modified mosquito, which in our opinion are going to bite humans, and it's just going to exacerbate the problem.
Now, the Russian president has said some countries are supporting terrorist groups to achieve their respective political objectives. In an interview with Azerbaijan's media, Vladimir Putin said it's unacceptable and extremely dangerous to use terrorists as a tool to attain political and geopolitical goals. He also criticized what he described as Western double standards in tackling terrorism. Putin underlined that terrorists cannot be divided into good and bad. The Russian president added that recent terror attacks in Europe prove that terrorism can only be tackled jointly with the participation of the United Nations.
The US president knows a wave of attacks recently by the Islamic State group has created fear. So following a meeting with his National Security Council in Arlington, he sought to reassure.
ISIL has not had a major successful offensive operation in either Syria or Iraq in a full year. Even ISIL's leaders know they're going to keep losing. But as we've seen, it is still very difficult to detect and prevent lone actors or small cells of terrorists who are determined to kill the innocent and are willing to die. And that's why, as we discussed today, we're going to keep going after ISIL aggressively across every front of this campaign.
Now, local law enforcement agencies are coming up with a game plan for the worst possible scenario.
They spent several hours today practicing active shooter drills at Las Vegas City Hall.
At this time, we do not know where the second subject is.
We've definitely taken note of those incidents and considered those in our planning actions.
After close to a year of planning, today Las Vegas City Hall was transformed into a crime scene for an active shooter drill.
All units respond.
The setup scenario, not that different from recent mass shootings. In this staged threat, 2 active shooters run into City Hall, shoot up the lobby, and steal a security guard's badge to gain access to the rest of the building. In the training exercise, several are killed or injured. First responders have to figure out how to help the victims and stop the shooters. Numerous organizations, 9 to be exact, are working the staged incident. Police, fire, city, and court marshals coming together as a team and as fellow citizens.
I'm comforted to know that there's training that's being done to ensure that when we have this event, that people are trained, that people are skilled, and that they're ready for this event.
And while they train to respond, they're always working to stay ahead of the threat.
We have to prepare for what's the most likely scenario that could occur for our community.
Europe's largest flea market, which takes place every year, attracts more than 2 million people and hosts 10,000 exhibitors. A tradition that dates back to the Middle Ages, it had never been cancelled, except during both World Wars. Since the November attacks in Paris, the Lille City Council had been planning new strict safety measures to ensure the event would go ahead. The market's perimeter had been reduced, roadblocks were to be put in place to stop vehicles from accessing the area, and extra police forces had been called in. But in the wake of the Nice attacks, the risk just seemed too great.
It's clear that we just can't ensure optimal safety.
In the streets of Lille on Friday, people were disappointed.
I understand in a way, but it's a shame. I think it's really unfortunate. It's like they've won. They're going to cancel everything now. But I do understand why they took this decision.
A host of other events have also been cancelled over security concerns in the south of France.
London's Metropolitan Police have unveiled its new counter-terrorism strategy. The beefed-up armed response unit is part of London's fight against terror.
Watch out, future terrorists. The UK's biggest police force is ready to fight fire with fire. Enhanced equipment, Glock sidearms and specialist BMW bikes for high-speed chases. The Met's new look elite counter-terrorism unit is already trained and ready to be deployed at a moment's notice.
According to CNN on Friday, at least 13 people are dead after assailants attacked a market in the northeastern Indian state of Assam. 15 other individuals were injured by the attack, with at least 12 sustaining serious injuries. According to local authorities, at around 11 a.m., 3 attackers opened fire within the market at Kokrashar. Armed forces managed to kill one of the attackers. However, 2 more are believed to be currently at large. Authorities believe that the assailants are members of the National Democratic Front of Bodoland, a terrorist Christian separatist group.
The U.S. has been increasing its military deployments in the Asia-Pacific region since it shifted its strategic focus to the region several years ago. The U.S. has deployed 368,000 military personnel in the Asia-Pacific and now have 8 major military base complexes in the region, about 40% of its overseas total. The biggest is the Northeast Asia complex. It includes 109 bases and over 37,000 personnel in Japan and 83 military bases and over 28,000 personnel in South Korea. Japan is also considering deploying the THAAD system. The Japanese newspaper Mainichi Shimbun says the defense ministry may speed up that process after the DPRK launched 2 ballistic missiles on Wednesday. One of the missiles landed in the sea in part of Japan's exclusive economic zone for the first time. Tokyo began its discussion over THAAD in November last year, but the proposal reportedly met with a lukewarm response from Washington. South Korea has said it can provide Japan with intelligence gathered by the THAAD system. The South Korea, Japan, and the United States signed a trilateral intelligence sharing pact in 2014.
Syria and Russia's joint offensives have killed 40 rebels in the northern province of Aleppo. An anonymous military source told Xinhua news agency that the airstrikes and artillery shellings targeted a rebels' hideout near the town of Khan Tuman in southern Aleppo on Thursday. The source said the rebels were bracing to attack the Syrian military positions near that area. The government army has fully besieged a rebel-held eastern Aleppo, and rebels have launched several attacks over the past week, but the government siege is still in place.
The Nellis Air Force Base in the U.S. state of Nevada will hold later this month Air Force exercises that will see Israeli warplanes participate alongside Emirati and Pakistani fighter jets. Both the UAE and Pakistan do not have official ties with Israel, and hence many believe that this is another step in what they perceive to be Saudi-led efforts to normalize ties between Israel and certain Muslim countries.
UAE cannot play like a single role without cooperating with the Saudis. Pakistan has the same, the same agenda. They also cooperate with the Saudis and the Emirates. The influence of the Saudis and the impact of the Saudis on the Pakistani government.
Several public meetings have recently been held between Israeli and Saudi figures. Retired Saudi General Anwar Ashki has met on many occasions with the Director General of the Israeli Foreign Ministry, Dori Gold. Meanwhile, former head of Saudi intelligence Turki Faisal has also met publicly with current and former Israeli officials. The reason behind these developments, according to experts, is a shared enmity towards Iran. Iran.
It's no secret that the United States and Israel consider Iran as the only enemy in the region. In this regard, we will see more and more coordination and cooperation between these countries to confront Iran.
The British chapter of the Black Lives Matter movement staged a nationwide protest across the United Kingdom on Friday to raise awareness about the deaths of black people and racial injustices across the world. During the campaign, the group shut down major thoroughfares in Britain's largest cities. Protesters blocked off a highway leading to Heathrow Airport, and 10 people were arrested in the incident. The group chose Friday to mark the anniversary of the death of Mark Dugan in 2011, a 29-year-old black man who was killed by police.
Was there a UFO above the Gateway Arch early this morning?
It's a flashing light that's leaving a lot of unanswered questions for Chase Rhodes.
And I've been out there for a little over a month now, and I've never seen anything above that arch, and I'm out there every night on break.
The independent cleaning consultant was outside the Casino Queen between 2:30 and 3 a.m. this morning when he took this video of something above the Gateway Arch.
I was sitting on my break, just smoking a cigarette, and as normal, and looked at the arch, and the strobe light appeared. Like I said, it didn't fly over. It didn't do any of that. It just appeared.
And it appears no one has any answers. A spokesperson for the National Park Service says they didn't have any reports of strange flights, and no one had seen anything this morning. A call to Scott Air Force Base found they had nothing out of the ordinary to report as well, and no concerned phone calls. So could a storm have reflected the light from some other source?
It's not the light that was on top.
No, sir. The light on top is red, and it doesn't flash that I know of. It stays lit up for planes not to hit it. This was about 200 feet over the arch.
Calls in our newsroom tonight about a mysterious object spotted in the sky. The calls started coming in around 8 o'clock. People reported seeing a shiny, round object in the sky out near the airport.
It looked like just to be a bright silver object in the sky. And then after we got a telescope on it, it looked like it was a clear balloon. It was catching the light as it moved from west to east.
All right, so we looked into this. National Weather Service sends balloons up to measure conditions, but it says the object in question does not belong to them. We also reached out to the Carnegie Science Center and the FAA, but so far, no one has an answer.
Шаровая молния.
According to Science News, 2 experiments conducted at the Large Hadron Collider, ATLAS and CMS, have found no evidence of a new particle in their most recent data, despite previous hints suggesting that a new particle existed. Scientists reported the potential existence of a new particle on August 5th at the International Conference on High Energy Physics. Evidence of the particle, in the form of a bump on a plot, appeared after the LHC at the European Particle Physics Laboratory, CRN, near Geneva, began smashing protons together at an energy level of 13 trillion electron volts.